Changes
Hands
angle
from
there.
Nathan,
Nice,
big
nice
left
kick.
Here comes Jordan
Jordy come back with those hands again.
Hey, yo, it's your boys been away for a minute, but we're back again.
We're back, but should we be? You're a little bit crook over there.
Yeah, that's why we're doing it over Zoom, because I'm fucking half dead. Just with normal sickness.
Yeah, back to the old-fashioned kind of sick.
Yeah, can you even get normal sick anymore? Well, trust me, you can. I've had COVID before, and this is much worse. But hey, that's all right. I couldn't miss the opportunity. I'm still at home, still a bit stir crazy. We can still do a podcast. It's been too long. People need it.
Yeah, it's been a while. It has been a hot minute, but put that down to my trainer deciding to move an hour and a half away from me.
Well, I guess we were talking before. We're going to play a little bit of catch up first, and then we'll do a breakdown of 1774, which is next weekend. Which should be fun.
Been a bit going on.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons we haven't recorded either. Is like we like to talk about and recap Muay Thai, but we're also pretty hands on with it. So when there's a lot on, there's a lot to talk about, but not a lot of time to talk.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like we're both involved in many different facets on the scene from there, and then can't get on the mics as much, which is like good and bad. But
well, for us to have stories to tell, we have to go and gather stories, right?
Exactly. As many first-hand accounts as I can.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, so SRG had their Yokkao Next Generation show on not too long ago.
2 weeks.
Yeah, about 2 weeks on the phone there. Not a bad card overall. You did a fair bit of officiating that day.
Yeah, this was cool. This took me back a little bit. It's been a minute since I've been at, and like they've done development days in SRG, but I like what Lewis and team do with these shows, how they dress the gym up. They've got quite a cool setup to put on a show like this, like a pro-am lineup, where they've got the jiu-jitsu school upstairs that can become the warm-up area, and they just fit the gym out. It's got a really cool feel to it. They do a good job with the DJ and the lighting and stuff. You do feel like you're in a venue, but it does have that kind of, I don't know, low-key sort of feel to it. It's quite a simple show set up, but they do a good job.
It's been a while since I've been to a show that it's felt so intimate. Like, you know, basically everyone's on top of each other, and everyone just going off cheering. It was awesome. I actually really liked it.
Yeah, when I'm fighting there, and we'll talk about this. Well, I've seen some good fights inside SRG. When a fight starts to go off in there and the house is packed, the vibe is sick. Because, as you say, that's a good way to put it. It's quite an intimate setting. It's sort of dark in there by the time it becomes night. Everyone's packed in really tightly. Like, remember Gary Patterson fought Pechuan in SRG. We were there. I fought, like, maybe this was getting to be years ago now. I think this would be 6 years ago or something. I fought early in the show. I think it would have only been maybe my second or third amateur fight. But it was sick. And similar in the semi-main event or one of the higher-end pro fights, Reece Castledine and Paul Rogers. Same thing. It was just absolutely going on.
Yeah, that was it was pretty good. But like on that day, like it was like I think they had a bit of a junior section beforehand, and then they had the busy day. But also like after the development day, it was like a 3-hour or so break before the pro main card. It's like I think all my guys may just end up just sitting in sushi tray for most of it, but just going,
I have to thank our friend of the podcast, Kieran Walsh, because I did a bunch of reffing on the development day portion, and I was unaware of the break. I didn't really come prepared because I didn't drive myself there. I got a ride with someone from the gym, and then I had to stay at the development day till the end to ref the last couple of fights, and all the people I went in with left and went home. So I was just stranded at the venue and ended up having some lunch and just going and sleeping in Kieran's car.
What a nice guy.
Just to recharge, because I had to go back and ref again. That's sort of the hard part of I didn't ref too much by the time the actual show the Pro-Am show came. I did a lot on the development day, but I only refed one and did a bit of amateur timekeeping on the Pro-Am show. But it's a little hard to have like a reffing is very, for me anyway, I'm still kind of getting my head around it. It's quite like, I don't know, it's almost like fighting. Like you, not adrenaline, but your heart rate gets up, and it's quite, you feel a bit all over the place, and then there's a little bit of a dump afterwards, and then to kind of come back, and then I find officiating to be like really high pressure. Like I kind of get really nervous about sort of fucking it up, basically. So to kind of have to, it's learning. It's all learning. It's a different situation I've dealt with, to kind of have to bring everything back down and then shoot it back up again. But it's also like, it's part of the learning for me is not getting so revved up to referee. Judging I can do very calmly, obviously, because you sit on the side of the ring. I'm still learning that too, but I'm quite comfortable with my knowledge of how to score. Refereeing, I think it's a little bit more of a, you can practice judging to a degree. It's different live, but you can sit at home and score a fight, and we've talked about this, but you can't really practice refereeing. Like you got two guys, and like, it's these two fighters versus each other, and you versus them in some ways. Like you're trying to split them up, and one of the fights I ref, there was a little bit of a point of contention on, was it a body kick or was it a groin kick? Yeah, but it's a lot to learn, and yeah, I get Trevor is, when he's coaching me, is always telling me I'm too revved up. But maybe it's also like, I've thought this too, like you go to a venue and like when you are reffing and you're also a fighter, when you get in the ring and there's a crowd there and the music plays, like you're there to fight. Like, I don't know, it's difficult to separate yourself from the fight, and that's what Trevor told me as well. And he
like
said,
taking one hat off and putting the other hat on.
Yeah, he said you've got to get out of the fight. You're in the fight. You've got to step back. So that's something I'm figuring out. Okay, it's good fun. I do like it. Sometimes I get out from doing it, and I'm just like, I actually hate it.
I'm uncomfortable here. I don't like this. Yeah, that's fair. I guess you can approach it like, you look at someone like Trevor or Elliot, and like, look, just so like their face never changes, so like monotone. And then you look at like what's that boxing referee, Kenny Bayless?
Yeah,
his eyes are bugging out his head. Like
that's me. I'm more of a Kenny Bayless than I am an Elliot. But it just, you realize, like, I think also I was talking to the guys, the officials, about this. Like, when you're trying to learn to ref alongside fighting and all the other kind of involvement that you have, it's hard to get enough reffing done, because there's so many shows that I can't referee on, I have to say.
Sure.
Either I'm fighting or I'm in someone's corner and I just have to sub out, or I'm commentating or something like that. So it's difficult, and like didn't even realize at the time, like I hadn't refed since December.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like that long, but a bit of time does. It's a hard thing to get in a rhythm of. So on the other side of my in-ring career, I'll do a lot more of it. But it's good learning. I am learning, just not. It's hard. It's hard to do everything, but that was fun.
So a little bit on the amateur card. Like I only had one guy on the amateur card, and one of the young fellas, Zach, versus
Ron Weasley.
When James White came out, it just said Ron Weasley, and then I go, man, that's pretty. But was it Eli Mcdonald from Double Joe's? Benji and the kid, right? Shout out to them.
Yeah, it was cool to catch up with Benji. I didn't get to see him for that long, so just saw him in passing. But good to see him in town.
Yeah, and it's like what's his boy? His boy's like 16, and Zach is 14, and like they're good-looking kids, man. Like in terms of like their style, like how they're fighting, it was a nice fight. Actually, it was pretty.
It was a nice fight, and I was really, really impressed with Runways. Like the timing and the just like the strength of his style. Like there was one exchange really early in this fight where Zach kind of pressed into the clinch, and Ron easily kind of sidesteps and turns, but also the way he followed his ring instincts are really good. The way that he turned Zach and tossed him into the ropes and stepped through with the follow up knee, he looked more experienced than he was in that exchange. And there were a couple of moments like this where he showed just his ability to capitalize on a good ring position was very, very intelligent. And yeah, look, it's a good strength. Strength and timing. Yeah, I was really impressed by both boys, of course.
Yeah, and like, this is Zach. This one, like, it's hard to get him a match because like he walks around 48 kilos. Like we have to go up to like 50 on this one. But like it's and like I said, there was just a couple of things like Kai trains him mostly, and he comes into the fighters class, and I train like half from there. But like it's like you see these young fellas now. It's like it's like, these guys are starting so young and they're getting so good. It's like it's like I think it's a good place to be for Muay Thai right now in terms of building into future stars in the next like 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, but it's just crazy to me. I thought the thing used to be there wasn't like that pathway for the juniors in that like you didn't see much style. Like by the time you could put the juniors in there, they'd fight in kind of the same format as the adults, and it was kind of just this very amateur, like just crashing. But this was a really nice fight, like really good to watch, strong fundamentals. Both guys knew how to score points. Like the double dose boy was fighting really nicely off the back foot and playing the craft involved in this fight was crazy for the experience level. But look, really good regardless. But for two teenagers with only a couple of fights each, really paints a really good picture of what the scene is going to look like in a couple of years.
Exactly. Was there any others on the amateur card that you noticed? I was out back most of the time. So was there anything else?
I am one really nice fight was Fahid from Fightworks versus Singdam SRG Adam. I knew this was going to be good because I really like both these guys. I saw Fahid last night actually. Just a beautiful fight. Like there's been clips going around on Instagram of some of the exchanges. This was class. I don't know if you saw any of it.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, really, just like I don't know if these fights are going on YouTube or anything, but if you get the chance to watch that, I've been a big. I watched Fade fight on 1774, the last one as well. Was very impressed there also, and I think we've talked about young Adam a couple of times too. It's nice to watch him. He's I think growing into his frame a little bit. Gaining some strength and some power, and always had that beautiful SRG Thai style, but really starting to think mature as he gets a little bit older. And yeah, I'm excited about both of them. They're really good. Two to watch from New South Wales.
Right, so going to the pro portion of that card from there, were the girls on first, or was it Paul and Rhys? Doesn't really matter. So,
honestly, by the time the pro fight started, because I, of course, was officiating, and then we had the main event. So, like, I unfortunately didn't get to watch a lot of the. That's kind of the worst. I was talking to someone about this the other day. It's like the worst part about having so many things to do at the shows is like I'm at every single show, and I sometimes feel like I don't see any fights. Like what I said to someone the other day was like, I get frustrated by how little time I have to watch fights, and they laughed at me because everyone has this idea that like just all I do all day every day is watch fights, but that's truly not the case. And yeah, I because I got to see every fight that I was judging, you would hope, but it's not really like, it's different. Like you're watching it in a different way, and when you're reffing, it's like a blur. And I went home from the SRG show like, I didn't actually see much. It looked like it was all right.
Yeah, it went okay. So people tell me anyway. Yeah. Well, it's like one fight like a lot of people talked about was like Paul Rogers versus Reece Castledine.
What a good fight.
Like I caught, like I didn't see the elbow round, unfortunately, but like I caught parts of it. Fair enough. God damn. But I caught some of it and I go, yeah, like, you know, both boys are just action fighters. You know what you got to get out of them. It's just going to be brute in the middle and then it's like blood and guts. But like, yeah, a lot of people talk about the last round of that fight.
Yeah.
Did you see that one?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
Like, this fight was mad. Like Rhys is one of these guys that I think you can he's one of the most reliable guys in Australia, like for a war. Like this is all he does. It's just like I really like his TK. He's got really good resolve. Like he's not gonna, you know, he'll, whether he wins or he loses, he's gonna go for it, and I really like that. And he's not going to. He's not gonna. He's gonna empty the tank. I like a fighter like that. It's really good to watch. I think he's particularly good in like a 3-round setting because he is quite explosive. Paul is coming along very well also. Was kind of, I saw a lot of hunger from both sides in this because it was kind of one of those matches. Both guys were coming off performances where they had come up short, and I think were only one of them can get back on track, and Paul was scoring points really nicely across this fight and some really good momentum shifts, and they came into this third round, I'd have to say, one apiece. So that really, based on how the fight was progressing, it really set the scene for a high energy third round. And then Paul cut Rhys with a really nice elbow, and there was a long kind of intervention from the doctor, and they never needed to stop this fight from the cut, but New South Wales are a bit funny about cuts. They like to have a look for 25 minutes, but that's fine. And then it was like, I think, I don't want to speak for Rhys, but I think sometimes where there's that visual of like you spend a long portion of the round in a close fight speaking to the doctor, it can kind of feel like you're on the back foot, like it almost gives your opponent like a little bit of an aesthetic edge sometimes, like when the doctor has to look at your cut, it implies a little bit more damage. And I thought Rhys came back from the doctor sort of like, all right, we've really got to go for it now. And like, this is what I like about just the whole attitude of this, is like he had been cut with an elbow, and his response coming back from the doctor was, I'm going to tuck my chin, blunt my guard, and just go elbow for elbow with you. Like, it was sick. And it was like almost like a Pacorn Poncenet kind of boom, boom, boom. Like, just like no one is trying to take the angle and like evade and steal the points. They were both trying to stand their ground and just like out tough the other one. And then Rhys was starting to come back with this. Like Rhys was getting the better of these exchanges. He was landing some real, despite just pouring blood, was starting to get the better of these elbow exchanges and crawl ahead. And then I think Paul just saw a close fight coming into those dying stages and thought he needs to steal it. And 8 counts Rhys. Like at the very end, I think the fight even maybe concluded with the 8 count. Like it almost took them to the bell. They were going back to the corner and he just like caught Rhys on the end of one of these elbow exchanges, getting excited to come back in and put some hands together, hit him with a beautiful cross, and just almost looked like he was going to knock Rhys out for a second, possibly, like really send him back to the corner. A smart 8 count was applied, which he took it pretty much to the end of the fight, and that's what cinched it for Paul in the end. I thought was that 8 count, and rightly so. He stole the round. He needed it was one of those fights where he needed a big moment to win, and he took one. Yeah, sick fight. I hope these fights go on YouTube because it was sick, and Rhys I think's lost a couple in a row now, but you can see he's not an easy dude to deal with.
It's not. He's always there to fight, but and despite his record, that you know what you're going to get out of him. It's like
he had a really really busy life. He's not even been on the scene that long, especially when you factor in the dark times. So he's stepped up to the plate a number of times to fight guys that are considerably more experienced than him. I think he's coming along well, and he's just a good war fighter. I like it. We need these guys. I'd love to see these two do it again.
It's like, why not do it again? Do it a couple times.
And that's probably how it'll go. Is I don't think we've seen these two fight for the last time.
It's like, I think that's most of the time the thing anyway, especially in New South Wales. New South Wales pros probably have to do it a couple times.
And that's the way, you know what I mean? You don't figure everything out in one fight. I think we have a good pool of fighters that are at quite a good level now. There's no reason that we shouldn't see rematches.
Yeah, well, actually, was it after that fight? Well, it might have been a little bit later on, but so I go up upstairs, changing room area, and then I went into the toilet area, and there's just Rhys just there, just like trying to clean up all the blood off the ground, just still pissing out of his head. I go, "What are you doing?" You go sit down.
Yeah, relax, man.
it's like I guess you can't really get the doctor to sit you up there because that's stop the show, but they did it after, and the show still goes on.
I've been just sitting around the whole show waiting to get stitched.
Stitch me. All right. Next, so we have the girls on as well. So Katie Rose Mitchell. This is a girl from NT. Allegra, yeah. Vickers. Look, I saw the last 2 rounds of this fight from there. I was really impressed with the girl, Vickers. In terms of talking to her trainer afterwards, I only had 5 fights compared to Katie's 20.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize the experience differential was so wide, and I thought she handled herself. I didn't. I shouldn't speak too much on this fight because I only seen bits, but yeah, handled herself well for that gap.
She's good flying team. so a few of those. Plenty of kick exchanges.
A couple of Warriors of the Moncton moments.
Ah, nice. Yes. Yeah, Jonathan Warriors Monka, they did some really good work on this one with the cut-ups. It's good.
I'm going to start saying, I think the going term for when just something picturesque and sick happens in Muay Thai has to be a Warriors of the Moncton moment. Because he always finds them.
He does. He's a magician, that man. He knows what
he's good.
So that point ended up going to Katie Mitchell in the end from there. But like I said, very, very, very impressed with Vickers. A good addition to the women's scene, and in this fight, do it again. You know, it's like there was a lot of people going with the decision where they weren't very happy with it, but I was like, just do it again. So it's like, why not?
And Katie has been very impressively active recently. I'm fairly sure she's got something else lined up as well, backing them up. Has made a strong start on the professional scene, which is really good to see. And yeah, a couple of wins in only a few weeks, I think.
It's pretty good, especially in that weight division for girls. You wouldn't expect to be that active.
Can be difficult, but Katie has had a couple of strong showings in a row. Sure, more big fights to come. Yeah, and also one of the first kind of professional representatives of Machete Muay Thai, so interested to see how that team kind of forms. Still quite a new gym under the tutelage of Rhys, who's obviously got a lot of really good knowledge to share. So exciting times.
Yeah,
for the Rhys.
the riff. You got to represent the riff.
Mm.
Then up next, so yeah, had my boy Luke Coolhand Taylor versus Hugh Davies, who recently made his return back to Muay Thai not too long ago before this in Melbourne, and I think maybe took about maybe a couple of years off, like before COVID, but like in then.
It was
and we
like
commentated this last fight.
Yeah, I remember talking to him at some show, and how long's it been for you? He told me it's been like 4+ years or something. He was away for a while. Time flies.
Oh, awesome. But yeah, this was a pretty good showing for Luke in particular. Just trying to work on his a little bit more like a pro style for him, and just giving him a little bit more direction. It's like sometimes he splinters off and trying to do too many ideas at once.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of just finite him to a couple ones, and it worked well. Like a lot of the guys afterwards came up and go, "Oh man, he's really improved from last fight," because the last fight that we were signing in pro for Muay Thai would have been him versus Ollie Hale, which wasn't a great performance by him, to be honest. But this, I think he redeemed himself in this one and kind of like showed that he has some good potential.
He looked better here.
This path. Yeah. But like it was a pretty good fight in terms of trying to work the hands a bit, trying to get his kick game going a little bit more, because his hips don't move that well sometimes, but they are moving a lot better now, and I think it's just going to get that better. Talking to Hugh afterwards, he just goes, "Yeah, man, he fucked up my arm in the first minute." I didn't pick up on that. So
I didn't pick that up either. Why? Just kicked him across the arm and
he just goes, he goes, I got 2 left kicks in the arm. And fuck. And I was like, okay. I was like, okay, kudos to you though. You fought well all the way through it. It was good. It was a good fight in general for both boys.
Yeah, that does kind of explain a bit, because I thought like Hugh would work really well from some places he ended up. Like he had some really nice trips out of the clinch, and probably had, I would say, better control of the game. They went back and forth quite a lot in those clinch exchanges, but did show an ability to control Luke's balance quite well. Like he had some really nice dumps, but didn't seem to press the issue on anything. Luke was dictating the fight. So even though Hugh would have these moments where he'd be like, okay, he could actually be superior there, he didn't kind of
capitalize it.
Yeah, didn't make a point of getting there. So I suppose, Luke's outside game had probably just negated Hugh's ability to execute on a plan. Possibly would make some sense. But yeah, this was quite a nice fight.
Yeah, I think it was just a good showing from his last performance with Sydney.
Is he lined up for? He got something else in the pipeline, or what's next for him?
Not at the moment. Put his name down for the next time to Sydney from there. But but after this one particularly, Luke did Luke even went up to Andy and goes, "Me and Paul on your show, let's do it."
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. That was my suggestion.
It's it's that division at the moment, that's 69. I think you've got that. Yeah, it's a disparity. You got these B grade guys like Luke and Paul and Rhys and all that, and then there's this huge gap that's kind of hard to cover. Yeah, at the moment, the guys are a bit more, that's why they have to fight each other a bit more.
Talking to Greeny about matching 1774 and getting that, but he said actually the divisions that should be the best, not the best as such, the conventionally most populous divisions, your welterweight, your super welterweight, your middleweight, it's really hard to make sort of compelling. I mean, a lot of the time for them it's the amateur fights, but just compelling mid card fights are really difficult, because you do have guys you got a couple of guys. I think in New South Wales, especially at super welterweight, you have a really nice pool at the top. But even that's dwindling. A lot of guys have vanished. It's still difficult to get, but you've got your Cruz Briggs, Jamie Elaine, yours truly, those kind of guys, and it's difficult for people to break into that bracket to gain the experience to step up and fight. That top pool without fighting the same dudes.
Yeah.
The 3 times. But there's a couple that, we talked about. Paulie did really well. Luke's coming along nicely. I think, those two, they fought in a novice fight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, they sure did.
Yeah, I think that'd be a fun fight if Paul's keen to do Sound to Sydney. If I was a matchmaker, that's what I would do.
As long as Paul doesn't have too many notches in his head from the last fight.
Which he could. He could.
Or
but that'd be fun.
As long as his elbows are not fractured.
Actually, that's a funny one. Like, I've had some elbow fights.
Mm-hmm.
The fights where I have, I just say this to speak from experience. Like, I find my elbows come out of fights. Like, when I have a fight where I cut someone a few times or something, like, I have sore as shit elbows afterwards.
It's almost like, imagine just elbowing like a bowling ball. Or or someone with a helmet on. It's like, just imagine elbows. That's what it is, really. Some people's heads are really fucking tough.
I reckon Rhys has got a hard head too.
You have to for him, for his stuff. All right. So going to the top of the card now. So last one had Jolt versus 2. That was a 5-round fight. And this was I guess this was a 69 kilo fight.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is who's progressively going a little bit up in weight there.
Well, he's not going up in weight. He's just like the scheduled weight is changing.
He's
coming in at the same weight.
Yes. We'll just make it official in the books. You just got to know sometimes. You go it's probably not realistic for me to put down this weight division. We might as well go up.
Yeah, and fair play to the man. He made weight.
Yeah.
And
yeah. So look, it's like two's like never gets any of the easy ticket fights.
No.
So if I'm like, not at all. Like, fighting all the good ties, they're around in New South Wales.
Yeah.
And Joe, he had a really good he had a really great performance against Carter Lawrence recently. Yeah. And then he had another pretty good performance against 2.
I feel like when I watch Joe fight now, I'm like when I was looking at him against Carter, I saw his body when he went to the ring on the motorbike. And I was like, okay, Joe switched on a bit. You know what I mean? Like he
seems a bit more hungry.
He looks to be in better shape than when he first arrived in Australia. He is fighting a little bit harder now. Like he's getting after it a little bit more. I think Joe has taken it up a notch after, because Joe's fought at a very high level also. Since he first arrived, he's been here a number of years now and always fighting very high level opposition. But I think maybe now has been like, all right, some of these guys in Australia are pretty good. Some of these guys in Australia are pretty good. I might have to.
Got to put down the chips and run.
Yeah, I saw that. He looks strong. Looks like he's been working out. And
it looks like he's thickening out a bit.
Yeah, he looks solid, which is good. It's good to see. And also, he did have a number of 3-round fights. He's now back in the 5-rounders, which will, of course, require you to get a little bit fit. Look good. I thought 2 in the early going was keeping this in a place where you're like, all right, it was going to go one of 2 ways. It was like 2 was going to keep upping the ante. And maybe just like he was landing some really good hands. He was backing Joe up, kind of making Joe unsure on entry. And then it was that 3, 4, 5 Joe started to just let that kind of back foot kick and knee game go, tied things up in the clinch. He's a very good spoiler. Joe, he's really good at just doing his work. And he plays a little bit of a psychological game too, I think. Kind of makes you a little bit unsure about coming in, and he's not quite there to be hit. That was the way he used his feet was very interesting, because I think the game that 2 had set out was like, if you look at those, I thought 1 and 2 were sort of drawn rounds, maybe draw advantage 2 in parts of that, and then you could kind of see, but Joe was reading reading a little bit, and I thought the game to play for Tu was to really let his hands go. And Joel just did a really good job of switching the way he engaged Tu to just make Tu feel like he was going to be there. And I chatted to Tu about this afterwards, and he said something about, he's fought a lot of Thais, and he's like, that's something I really got to get back used to. Fighting the Thais is the way that they just are able to make you feel like they're there and they're not. And I thought that was a little bit of what was going on. Joel got a little bit tricky with his knees to the groin. There was a few of them.
There was a few stoppages. A few breaks on that one.
But like, I think there was actually there was one break, but there was some.
There's a couple. Well, I guess every time that Tu tried to work his hands a little bit from there, there was a lot of them trying to counter knee.
Yeah.
Especially off the ropes. But it's just Joseph seems like he's pretty switched on.
Yeah.
Be interested to see how he gets matched going forward.
Yeah, I'm interested because it does really feel like he's positioning himself a little bit more to go on a run. And he has fought some of the top guys in that weight in Australia already. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing what's next for him, what the SRG team have in mind.
Yeah. And it would also be just good to, just in general, that SRG gets a couple of shows done a year again. That'd be nice.
That would be nice too, yeah, because like we say, it's a cool setting to bring. It's a cool setting to have. This was a Sydney show, bar the Northern Territory flying, which is cool, just like the odd one to fill a gap and keep it spicy. But that's a fun setting to just do nice local fights. It's all low key, get on in, Arvo show. Yeah, really fun. Well done, SRG team. Yokkao.
So let's go on for another recap. Like I said, we've kind of played catch up here. I feel like a lot of people have already talked about this show, but we'll just add our own little things to it. Yes. So Domination just recently had their show on the same day at SRG. Some of us were madmen and stayed up afterwards. That's not me.
Yeah, but... man, I need. I need to stop doing that. But yeah, I did go straight
make it sound like you're like an addict.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna talk on that anymore. But I did go straight home from the SRG show and start watching because it was the second to last fight was on, and I was like, it was midnight at the time, and I was like, well, fuck, it's pretty much over. I might as well watch it.
Watch it. There's lots of good fights on that show. Shout out to Roy Wills being one of the busiest men in Australia. Had 9 people on the card, I think, of the 11 card fight.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, this was kind of like their first big outing for the pit under Roy's leadership since Blair's retired. So, big start. But, yeah, cool to see the pit kind of become like it's like the pit next generation, sort of. Because all the guys there that are on the coaching and pad holding team are originals that they came up through the pit, but it's kind of been passed down, which is pretty sick, I think.
Yeah, it's good lineage to have. Like that lineage can actually continue as well.
And the pit is so famous for the pit style. The pit never quits. So it's like you need a homegrown leader to maintain what it is. So cool that they get to hold that authenticity.
Well, was it Roy just started when he was a kid with them, and then had all these fights underneath Blair, and eventually, took over the head coaching role.
Yeah, so surely as a gym, that's like the dream scenario. Someone completely homegrown, world level fighter, then stays on to run the place. So cool.
Yeah. So there was a few fights on this guy. We won't go every fight. We'll just do like the main couple. But which fights piqued your interest that you want to talk about? Brief over.
Oh, look, let's just gloss it because shout out to everyone because there's actually a few Australian Muaythai podcasts now, which is sick. I've really been enjoying just listening to the takes and the kind of fallout from this, and I don't want to double up. But yeah, of course, just Toby and George. Look, there's a couple of things. Like, everyone said their piece. The judging on this thing was fucking terrible. Like, not like there was more correct than incorrect decisions, but I think everything was a split decision. You know what I mean? And split decisions that were like, one judge had it all rounds to blue and one judge had it all rounds to red. Like, shit that's just not on. But again, it's been talked about. It's not worth getting into, but I'll just, it's really just Toby and George was the super fight. One of the biggest matchups in Australian Muay Thai in a number of years, I think. For a couple of reasons, there were stories here. Toby's return from 3 years away, and he's done this before. He has fallen off the scene a couple of times, and as tends to be the way in Toby's absence, George moving up in weight to a weight I do feel is much more appropriate for him than 70 kilos, because he is fucking massive. He claimed the light heavyweight world title and the 76 kilo, the super middleweight #1 spot while Toby was away. And it was time for Toby to return and settle who #1 is. Sick that they could put on a show like this with just WA guys, because this card was ridiculous and had really what you could almost call like a deserving super middleweight world title fight. I believe Harmstad's retired. Yeah, that was who Toby had fought last. So this was the spot, the fight for the top spot at super middleweight globally, almost. Yeah, it was Georgie's just class. Rounds 1 and 2 doing exactly what he needed to do. Keep Toby off his feet a number of times. And I think Toby was a little bit reserved 1 and 2, possibly saving a bit of energy and just getting his feet back under him in the ring, but George picking up the points really well. Rounds 3 and 4, Toby went classic Toby. He cut George, he was relentless, and he started to win some rounds back. And it was looking like they could have been close to even coming into the 5th, and George just smart, counter kicks, deeps, locking things up. Not there to be hit when Toby's kind of really gunning for him, used his eyes really nicely. Great fight and a nice, classy win for George. Enjoyed this and always enjoy watching George fight. He's a ring genius.
Yeah, it's like for a man that's so big, like how he moves, it's just it's almost like you look at Tyson Fury. They're just like he's so big, he should be able to move like that. And George is like similar. Like
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, granted, George Mann has a better body than Tyson Fury, but but like he moves. I love George's. Like he's really good. Really, the move is great.
And a really strong performance. To be honest, I think it's an interesting one because Toby had been away so long, and it's a big fight to just step back into. I am not opposed to seeing round 6 through 10 of this. Not necessarily immediately, but as a massive Toby Smith fan, I hope he's back to stay. I mean, if it's what he wants to do, I hope he's back to stay. I'd like to see them do it again, and maybe Toby get a little bit busy again, get back on the scene a little bit more. The trouble with this fight is there's not that many guys within Australia. There's not that many guys for either of them to fight. Same thing that we talk about, a bit of a level gap. So, I wouldn't want to watch him fight again immediately necessarily, but I think a Toby George rematch would be fun.
Yeah. Do you reckon Toby Smith, like, he took his layoff before, like, do you reckon he's looking to be active again? Or, like only fights like this only kind of rouse his interest?
I honestly couldn't say. I don't know if Toby wants to go gun for one championship, which is, he'd do great in there. If he wants to just get back on, he was a Rebellion fan favourite. I don't know. Hopefully, we're going to get more. It's nothing better than a classic Toby Smith war. I hope there's more in the future, but I hope Toby does what Toby wants to do,
Yeah, exactly. And, like, going with George as well, like, the lead up to this fight, like, people, like, do the history and stuff. Like, I don't like doing it for Australian fighters because we know most of them and don't like them too much. Like, who wins that and I can't believe like how overlooked George Mann was in the
Oh my
past.
god! Every time he fights, man, like I say this so much.
It's like, don't you people understand how good this fucking guy is?
But also, like, it was the same when he fought Charlie. That was another one. Like, it was a very compelling match. Two excellent fighters, and you look at all the polls for that. Charlie was like not pick who you want to pick, but like George should never be in a fight and be like the overwhelming underdog. Like he looks untouchable most of the time, and the way people are like people are just so stupid. Like, I don't know if it's just the way that I don't know if it's George's kind of like demeanor. You know, he's quite like you wouldn't even know he's a fighter from speak to him. Speaks like he comes across like a mild mannered sort of corporate. Maybe it's that, or he is quite young. He's really young for his experience, or it's just like he's sort of all the pictures of him over the years, his skinny frame. I don't know what it is that makes people think he's not, but he's elite of the elite. Crazy experience, and just the way that every time he fights, it just seems to be like people are just thinking, people are getting on Instagram talking about how he has no chance, and it's like there is not a fighter that way on earth that he has no chance in. They don't exist. Like I think the next what I want to see next, not necessarily next, whenever, I don't know, is I want him to go to one. I think that division in one championship's building out really nicely with Liam Nolan, with Samoa, Nicky Holtzman's still there. There's a lot going on. George 41 a couple of times when he's still at 70. I think he's much better at this weight. In the past, like historically, like they've never crowned a world champion in Muay Thai at that what for some reason they call a lightweight division. Yeah, I think if you want to build that out, throw both of those guys in there, and you've got a really nice weight class. So, yeah, I just don't get why. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I like George's. I've always really, really liked George's attitude and the way he carries himself, and he doesn't give a shit what people say, or like he likes to have a laugh about how people give him no chance. But I don't know what it's going to take to show people.
I think he's just hardened over time that when the one keeps replaying that time when he had that big bulbous he goes, fuck everyone. Fuck social media.
Yeah. Good on him. He's a resilient guy and he knows what he brings to the table. He doesn't need randoms on Instagram to validate his ability.
Cool. So what's some of the other fights we're talking about that happened in this one?
I feel like I should touch on the dreaded one because I got a lot of questions.
Okay, do that part, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about this. I'm not going to talk about this at length, but like this was the only one. Like I got more questions about this fight than I did the main event.
I like listening to some of the other podcasts, man. Like they go, God damn, they go like I didn't watch this fight until like I heard a couple of podcasts go, God damn, they're really going in on this. Dude, I'm gonna watch this, and then I watch it. I go, see, but man, give a dude a break.
That's where I'm at, and I don't think people expect this take from me. Obviously, I'm an advocate of a more traditional Thai boxing style or a quote unquote beautiful style. That's what I like to watch. However, fuck man, Nathan Embleton didn't break any rules. You know what I mean? Like he fought a guy who I truly rate as one of the top fighters in Australia. I love watching Ken Lockheed fight, and knocked him out cold and dropped him 4 times. Like it's one of the most absurdly bizarre styles I've ever seen in my life. Like literally sprinting across the ring. But like, how much more definitively can you win a fight than knocking someone out cold? And now holds the highest crown. The WBC lightweight Australian title. I don't know. Like, I just think I get it. There's a certain style that kind of you would call Muay Thai, and it is not that. But if you don't like it, you've got to beat it. You know what I mean? And I'm not. I just think it's almost like this. We talk a lot about how we need more people involved in Muay Thai to grow it. And a lot of the common pushback that we've touched upon before is people from other styles and other sports that can, like when MMA gyms maybe want to have guys fight Muay Thai to develop their skill set, they kind of like think there's a bit of a clique mentality. And that's exactly what this is. It's people saying, you can come into our sport and like winning by knockout in a national title fight is unequivocally is doing well, right? Like it's about as well as you can do if that's what, but then you're going to get told by the community, don't do that here.
You didn't do it the way I liked it.
Yeah. Like people almost act like he cheated or something. Like, okay, do I like to watch that style? Is that one that I'm tuning in to watch? Personally, no. And after this, it's not like that's made him must see TV for me. It's made, like I'm not like, whoa, this is but I mean, a couple of things. I'm sure the crowd liked it. We love real Muay Thai and beautiful Muay Thai, and that's really what we want to develop. But if you put someone who's running around high drama, spinning back fist, like the punters are going to like it. There's a place for it. There has to be. But also, if you can come in and within the rules beat a legitimate high level fighter, you can't, I don't know. I don't want to misspeak either because I understand a lot of the criticism, but at the same time, stop him. Right? Like, and he has been, guys have beaten him, Eddie Duvar and stuff like that. But, if it's not, it's almost like an old, like, pajama martial arts sort of mentality where it's like, oh, I don't have to deal with that. That's not real Kung Fu. Like, if you, like, it's at the end of the day, Muay Thai is a martial art and it's also a combat sport. And it's like, a traditional Muay Thai style is the embodiment of that martial art in the combat sports setting and the dreaded one. And I feel like that's about dreadlocks, but I think he's kind of lived up to the dreaded one name,
exactly.
Regardless of dreadlocks. Like, I think if you really are like a Thai style advocate and you don't want to do that, you've got to show the strength of your fundamentalist sort of Muay Thai and prove its superiority rather than just be like, oh, but that's not okay around here. I just don't want to fight that. It's not, I don't think it, again, I don't like watching fights like that, but I respect your right to compete in that fashion.
And like, and you got to respect him. He's a champion.
Yeah, he's a national champion. Like, it's like, what do you do as a Muay Thai community when someone's fighting in a way you don't like? Do you go, okay, let's game plan around it to use our beautiful Muay Thai skills to beat it, or just go, get rid of him? Get rid of him. He's not doing it the way we like to do it. Again, look, I like. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Actually, it doesn't matter what I like. It doesn't matter what you like. It doesn't matter what anyone likes. He's out there doing the damn thing. So
can't argue it.
Line up. If you've got the strap. Yeah, if you've got the real Thai style to beat whatever that is, go and do it.
Do it. Too easy.
So yeah, that's my take. For everyone who asked me, that's my take on the dreaded one. Maybe unexpected for some people. I don't know, but
well, I imagine it was. But then, yeah, I don't know. Like I've never seen him fight before, and then when I watched it, I'm just going, what am I watching? Then but then I saw him like, okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
But if I saw that performance in like a novice fight, I'll be like, fuck. The second that guy fights someone who's any good, he's gonna get just stop. But I know from watching, knowing that he's fighting a guy I rate as highly as I do, I was like, oh shit, like this dude is something to deal with. So yeah, strange, but a bit of drama is fun. Sometimes we need some outliers. Can't all be doing the same thing.
Yeah, like you said, like the part, it's like it to the punters that try to turn up and don't watch a lot of Muay Thai. They just go, "Oh, this is different." It's exciting. People getting knocked down.
I understand as well the idea that maybe we don't want people to come to a Muay Thai show and watch that and be like, "Fuck, yes, this is Muay Thai." I get that too, because we kind of want to show people how beautiful and entertaining and unique compared to other combat sports. Muay Thai is like a good Muay Thai sort of battle. But I don't know. Fuck. Again, up to you, lightweights, to stop him. If you don't like
up,
it, instead of just complaining about it.
Like I don't know much about that division, so I'm like I can't even think. I go, who could do it? Someone.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's see.
All right, so let's go into we're going to preview 77 because, like I said, because a lot of people come to show. Like we'll shout out to that one other match, the final night, Ben Camp versus Jordan Godfreyson.
The Wolf. Mad fight, eh?
Watch that one, guys. It's all the fights are on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
I try to look up YouTube, but look on Facebook. They're all there. Great fights.
Really good to see the Wolf back. He's Australia's kind of long time junior welterweight, or I forget what they call the division. That's what I call it, King. And 3 years away, all up. And yeah, long time away. Looked like he was going to kind of start to handle Ben Kant, who wasn't going home without a fight, and really put it on Jordan. The back end of this fight.
Ben's left hand was really good.
Yeah, he's super gutsy. I really like Ben. He's a friend of mine. And he's actually going to move to the UK now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and train out of Majestic Gym.
Cool. Well, UK seems pretty good.
Really good, yeah. So that's one to watch. Ben can't get some different opportunities overseas. Should be cool. We'll be training alongside former opponent, actually, Josh Hill. Yeah. So there you go.
What's this?
All right. That's an update.
That's an update. Actually, you heard it here first. All right. So on May 14th, we have 1774 coming back in town. Back to the Yaguna Arena Sports Club.
I like this venue.
It's a good venue.
I don't want to go to fucking Shell Harbour again.
It's a bit long, but I know. But sometimes as well, just in general, like the shows if they're done on the basketball court, it seems like I don't know, the atmosphere is sometimes lacking at times. Like
we talk about the SRG show, like they're fun because you don't need a massive crowd. Everyone's like packed in, whereas like the last 1774 was on a basketball court and there was a big crowd. There's a lot of people there, but it's also just a lot of space to cover.
Yeah.
So it never feels compact. Yeah.
But looking forward to this one. And so originally for this card, we were meant to have the Brazilians are coming over, but that didn't pan out. But still,
what a nightmare for the guys.
Yeah, I like the aspirations of it. Like it was fucking sick, and I guess it was really close to being over the line, but it just didn't eventuate. Tried to make it happen a couple of times. I don't know. And would you even bother trying to make it happen now again? Like it's too hard. Yeah.
Interestingly, I mean, also a lot of things kind of. There's some fights I probably can't. No, there's a lot I can't. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but
we'll talk about later. Off record.
Like there was, if you look at what was publicly announced for this card, all the different iterations have been like it's insane how many faces this has had. And if you know some of the matchups that were in the pipeline in the background, it's nuts. But yeah, interestingly, Julio Lobo was supposed to fight Chad Collins for the WBC world title on the card. He will now, Julio Lobo, still fight for that title the same day in Thailand. On the
Still
Venom
worked out well
shot.
for him.
Yeah, weird. Bizarre.
Okay. All right, then. Fair enough. Well, so he still gets what he wants, though. He just doesn't have to bluff.
Yeah. So.
But like the card that the boys like Michael Green and Aaron put together, this is a good card. Like especially like there has been a couple like short nurse dropouts and how they reshuffled all like got to make it work. Good on them. Yeah, they faced a lot of adversity for this one, and it looks like it's going to pull off to be a good product.
Yeah, and even like some examples of fights that like disastrous last minute pullouts becoming better fights. Well, not necessarily better, excuse me, but like I mean, just as good fights. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's just go quick from there. See. All right. So, because like a lot, there's only a couple 3-rounders, and a lot of them is going to be title fights.
Yeah, I've got the main card in front of you. I don't actually know much about the amateur card. I don't know if you've got.
I just got my boy Levi on there.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to him jumping in the ring. He had
How's he looking? Post Phuket Fight Club, he did. He always looks jacked. Yeah.
That's it. He's always camera ready. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. But he's looking good. Like I should be interested to see you had a couple fights in Thailand, but then you come to New South Wales, come back home, it's gonna be an amateur fight. It's gonna be headgear, elbow pads on, so could make a difference. But whatever, the amateurs. That much. Let's get some work done. That's the main thing.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, it would be good to see him back. I love Levi.
Yeah, Levi's good quality. So yeah, go for the cut. You got your boy Jared in the ring again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. It's been a minute since Molo's fought, and he's looked physically. I've never seen him look this good. Like I think Molo's just one of these dudes. Like every gym needs dudes like him. Like he's there all the time. Always training, loves Muay Thai, but he hasn't been able to jump back in since the dark times, and has been paying attention to in all this. And this is the other thing. Like I actually think I mentioned this. We got to a point late last year where it was time to see who could get back in the ring. As far as there wasn't enough matches for everyone, and Molo is one of these guys where he just says like, you know what, I will, like, he's a team player. Like, and I don't think, this is going on a tirade. That has nothing to do with anything, but that's not like me. I don't think within Thai boxing, I think one of the most important things to cultivate within a fight team's culture is understanding how to be a part of a team and not to just take from that whole fight camp experience. And like we got to that post-lockdown point where a couple of people got matched, and it had to be, and it can go one of two ways when everything reopens in the world. And either you get a match and you put your head down and go for it because you're almost playing catch up from that lockdown time. And a lot of people just sort of vanish if they don't get matched because there's been no living to do. You've been in your house and I understand that. But Molo was in a position where he didn't get matched himself, but like just really, really dedicated himself to helping with the whole process. He's always holding pads if he's not fighting, and at this point I'm really excited to see him back because like he's been put through the absolute ringer as far as just being there to help other people get ready. He never asks any questions, never complains, or like he gives as much time to other people's fight camps as people give to their own. Sometimes more. Sometimes we get more out of him than we get from the fighters. So it's really cool to see him. Now we get to change the attention and just kind of let him be the focus. And he's just grabbed it with both hands and run with it. He's really looks like I think paying attention to his strength and conditioning and stuff in the off time made a difference, gave him the chance to kind of build some muscle. He looks really, really solid. I'm really excited to see him fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good to have him back in the ring. So it's like it's been a while for him, and like and safe. I think was his last fight. Was his last fight top?
Took, yeah.
No.
Tough one.
Yeah, definitely tough one. But I think he's fighting here.
Curtis Smeaton from Newcastle.
DMA. Good to see him in the room. You got a couple on this card, don't you? 7. Yeah, just a few. Well, that's how the home term the home country. The home card.
It's an interesting one, this, because we usually like the last time we had like the whole pro card. Whereas this time we are mostly the amateur card, like our up and comers, and like we open the pro show, and then the actual kind of main attractions are all neutrals, so different kind of flip from us. But we the second fight we've got Tracy Alexander versus Shook from PTJ.
Yeah, I think I saw Shook. She's born in Melbourne. Yeah. That one. And then I guess this is a second pro fight going in. And Tracy's had a few.
She's a gamer.
What experience?
Been around for a few years now. This is actually a trilogy fight, which I was unaware of. I was unaware of, to be completely honest, because Shook is new-ish to PTJ, but she has fought in New South Wales out of other gyms before, I believe. So the two have fought before. I haven't seen it. I don't know too much, but that should be a fun one.
I definitely should. So we've talked about this fight before because it didn't happen last time.
It fell apart last time.
Cal Lee versus Michael Zielinski.
Yeah.
So check back on that episode.
Check out the previous. This should be fun. I'm glad they got to put this fight back together. Both boys been looking good. Michael picked up a win on hardcore.
Yep. Yeah. He looked pretty good in that fight.
Looked solid. Yeah. This would be a fun one. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, how high energy, high pace. I want to say it was Kahal on that card too, but I don't think all the shows meld together. But high energy fighters, Yokkao Lee. Michael, a strong walk forward stylist, a bit of a kind of there's a bit of kind of a clash here, in that kind of forward strong style versus that higher volume sort of high energy style. Yokkao a real nice kicker. Michael likes to work in the clinch, so yeah, fun stylistic match.
And then then I have my guy, Cobra Kai, Lee Jones, versus one of Pinky's boys, Jason 50 Shades Scott.
I like this fight. I really like the style match, and I think it's interesting because you got Kai, who's very highly touted up and coming now, been stringing them together, and then 50 Shades is such an interesting case for me in that he has, he's a real Team Pinky fighter. Short notice, short layoffs, step up a level, whatever, like just really thrown to the wolves. And as such, given he's like in terms of time training, not a crazy experienced guy. Like he was racking them up quick from the first, and he would have had nudging 20 fights now. And I think he had his first few fights within a few weeks of each other. And I remember Pinky telling me he hadn't been training long when he started fighting. He'd only been in the gym a few months. So a real Thai style development that I think in recent years, he's had some pretty hard outs against tough guys. He was knocked out by Damon Nelson. He had a really hard outing on short notice against Albert Tuar. And these guys are top of the top in the weight class. And experience-wise, look, Jason clearly has very nice technique and very good style. But he's been learning lessons against far more experienced guys, and this is a chance to see him fight someone a bit closer to him in experience, and let's see a little bit more of a conventionally sort of level appropriate fight, if you will. And at the same time, a good chance for Kai to fight someone who's similar in frame to him, which there isn't that many of, and a guy who's you kind of like a little bit more experienced than him, rather than it's been a little bit difficult to get those sort of even matches. So there's a couple of interesting things to consider for this one.
Yeah, well, it's like since Kai made his pro debut, it's like at the moment I like the trajectory of how each fight's kind of build up from experience level, size, and framing to this one here. Like it's a fight that makes sense to me. That's what we took it. It's like
I think so.
It's like we know Jason's taken a lot of really high level guys.
Yeah.
And I know it's like he's just a solid competitor and just love to get out, to see how it all pans out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be fun. What weight's
so,
that? 65?
65.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, too tall, 65 kilo boys.
Yeah, the 65, even into 67, still tall boys.
Tall at fucking 72.
Yeah, 70. Yeah, true. It's just just tall guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we're going to the top of the card now. Sure. All right, so defending his WBC state title, we have Nathan Jones Jr. Versus Justin Shin, which
interesting fight.
Yeah, Justin Shin was meant to fight in the last 1774, but it didn't eventuate. Unfortunately, he finally got his first fight in Australian soil on power play. Am I correct? Against Indigo Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then now he gets a shot at Nathan Jones for the title.
Interesting one. I think this comes across as almost a high stakes. I mean, it's got the WBC strap on the line, so it's a high stakes fight naturally. But this is one of those fights. Nathan Jones Jr. I've said it many times. I'm a really big fan of his. I think he's a top up and comer, and had really started to. He was one of these dudes where if you watched him fight, you'd be like, okay, this young guy's one to watch, but he wasn't always getting to fight on highly showcased events when he was so he was just trucking along almost in the background. And then he had a couple of fights in succession. That awesome title winning performance against Geordie Bargali, and then followed up on Roots, which is again a good little push, and people were starting to see okay, this is this guy's one to watch. But then in his last two fights has hit a little bit of rough luck. He had that shock high kick knockout against his old rival Josh McCullough in the last 1774. And then I almost feel like the idea on their team's side was to just bounce back. They came back quite quickly from a knockout loss to fight a K1 fight on Steve J's show against a guy from Legends Gym, I think. So from the gym that Justin trains at. And came up short in that as well. I've heard there was some whatever. He came up short in that. I haven't seen it, so I can't say anything. So it's a little bit like he still holds the title and now has to come back and defend that. But it's a funny place to be for a divisional champion, to be in a spot of rough luck, So it's a fight where I think I really frame this as a fight where Nathan is protecting his place as a top up and comer. And on the other side, you've got Justin Shin, who a lot of the Australian scene are unaware of, because he's been over in Thailand for a few years and then a couple of years off with all that. So you've got him kind of coming in and saying, right, I've been in Thailand plying my trade. Let's knock Nathan off the spot here and show you I'm one of the top guys to watch. So I like the kind of story here. It's the title kind of represents a certain status within New South Wales as the guy to push. Interesting to consider they did, as far as a sort of measuring stick, they both fought Indigo Boy in the last few months, and Nathan beat him and Justin lost. Doesn't mean that much, but different rules as well. Justin fought him in a K1 fight and Nathan fought him in a Thai fight. But an interesting fight, I think. a really good opportunity for Justin as kind of a relative unknown and only a recent return to the scene. And yeah, Nathan's got to show who he is, got to show what he's about, and kind of look to put those couple of hard outings behind him.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a fight where, like you were saying there, that the pressure more so lies on Nathan than it is for Justin. Like Justin can, like, it's like he's got everything to go for it. While with Nathan Jones from here, it's like, and the last couple goes, like, I have to hold this. It's like this is me. This is what I'm the champ. I'm gonna keep holding the ground.
But that being said, I think there can be a lot of pressure in people. We see this many times, guys like Justin that go over and spend some time in Thailand. There's a certain mystique about like, oh, we've been in Thailand all this time. But the reality is, a lot of the time, without spending long periods of time, there's a level guys go over there and fight at. Sometimes it's above what they could be fighting at here. But sometimes the reality is it's below. Like a high-end Australian level fight is more skillful than that middle tier in Thailand, and it can be difficult to see where these guys fit. So even though there is still that kind of allure of like, oh, he's been in Thailand, there is an element of you have to come back and prove yourself. What level were you really fighting to? What experience did you get? So that's kind of like there's something to show for both guys here. I think it's an interesting storyline between two young up-and-comers.
Yes, it's a really good fight. So go right at the top end of the card here. So go with the girls' fight. So originally, like in one corner we have Lisa Brierley.
Really?
Saying that correctly. Really from UK's been training out of Thailand.
Yep.
She touched down and staying in Ma Singh's place at the moment.
Yeah.
Was meant to fight Jazzy Parr. Was the original match. Jazzy Parr sustained the injury and scrapped out. And then now we got the champ, Kim Townsend, trying to go through 2 world titles
within a month.
In a month. Crazy. It's like from going from like talking, I think we were talking about before, like Kim Townsend, from like having like a bout of not being active a long time to now just absolutely just kind of banging them out, putting that stamp on. Yeah, this is a great match in terms of, and it's great matchmaking as well to make it happen.
Yeah, look, I think it shows kind of where the promotion is at now that they were able to do this, because this is just as good a fight. A week out, pretty much, they managed to get a current world champion into a world title fight. Like, doesn't get any better than that. Kim Townsend, I've sung her praises many times. I respect her so much. Like, one of my favorites. She just doesn't give a fuck. I'll come in. And it's interesting in that, like, this was one of the original plans, was this fight. And then there were a couple of things going on that meant it couldn't happen. And then Jazzy was called in, and the Jazzy got hurt, and Kim ends up being their place, and it's kind of nuts. So, but this is like a really high level fight. Lisa Brierley is very well travelled, 2 world titles, a lot of experience across Thailand, versus Kim, who is on an absolute tear. Really has looked difficult to really bother.
Unstoppable.
Yeah, like really hard to touch, and I think a hard ask for Lisa Brierley coming over from Thailand. But of course, Lisa training full time out of Santai Muaythai, I believe. Yeah, still Santai. Fighting at a very high level, I think. Look, this is a status move if Kim can get this done. 2 world titles. To come back from the layoff that she had. It was 3-4 years maybe in between fights for her. To take the national title, step straight up and take the world title over Celeste, and then move up in weight again and pick up a second world belt. That would be huge.
Yeah, it just seems like we all knew she was good for so long, Kim Townsend. But it only seems like now that she's only got that respect with wrestling, like over a very storied career. Like, she's really experienced. But it's like only to see just in this last like half a year or so. Yeah, she's really gone into the place where everyone should recognise and what she is. It's been one of the best ever.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, like, we talk about Kim, but Lisa is a very well. I think she's going to be based here for some time, possibly. I'm not sure. I could just be talking shit.
Hey, it'd be good. Good to have her. Like, it's always good to have like lots of professional girls on the scene, especially if high caliber as Lisa.
At a world level, yeah. I'm really, really, really excited for this fight.
Nice. Okay, then going into the last fight of the night here. So, Jonathon Aiulu still gets a match. So even though like pull-outs from there, he still gets to dance on 1774.
For the same title as well, which is still good. Still gets his title shot, yeah.
Nicely done. Okay. I think I asked Michael Green, like, what's up with this match? Like, who's this guy? He sends me an Instagram. This is all I know about him.
Seansuek, venum Muaythai
gym. I honestly don't know much about Seansuek. So, but I know a bit about Jonathon Aiulu. Recently came off a loss against Jabba Askarov in a stellar fight. Jonathon Aiulu is really good. And he's going to bring a lot of, some good style, good power to the game. How do you see this one panning out?
Look, it's a good match. I think Seansuek is a solid campaigner. He is a knockout fighter for sure. A regular on the kind of entertainment scene in Thailand, Muay hardcore and the like. Heavy-handed, quite thickly built, very aggressive, not by any means a stadium-style fighter, which will make for an interesting fight. Aiulu has incredible timing, wicked left kick, which he showcased against Jabba Askarov, and quite a tidy boxing game too. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a matter of, I think it's one of those fights where Seansuek has been fighting on the, he's, of course, still based full-time in Thailand, not going into, but definitely an international friendly style. So probably a guy that, Venum are a smart camp, they've built a good stable. Maybe Seansuek's probably one of the guys they're building to get international next, which is maybe what brings us to here. But I think it'll be interesting. I want to see even how Seansuek stacks up against Jonathon, because, sometimes there can be question marks around, like we talked about, those 3-round entertainment kind of shows, whereas Jonathon has been fighting, elite fighters such as Jabba. It's not, not like he's just stepping up a level crazy. I think Jonathon's proven his place. I think it's a good match. I think it's a really good, action fight. Two guys capable of ending a fight at any time, and a good chance for that international title opens a lot of doors to continue that road to the world strap. So yeah, just a good fight.
Yeah, it just seems like now, Jonathon Aiulu's taking the measures now to travel and get his name really out there.
Yeah,
just outside of Queensland now. It's and he should he's a really good commodity to follow and get behind. It's his style's good. He always brings a great fight. It's always interesting. So it's good. After this, really push the international scene.
Yeah, and the Kajaba fight would have been sick, but I really like the style matchup here. I think it's got all the makings of a bit of a war. So
yeah, it's a good one. Sweet, and that covers the preview for 1774. So remember, get your tickets, come support the show.
Come to the show.
Mm-hmm. You can see us there.
I don't know what capacity. I haven't talked to Greeny yet. I don't know. I don't know which of my many hats I'm wearing, but I'll be around. A lot of people actually. The last time 1774 was on, a bunch of people just came and said hi, which was cool. I'm a very nice guy, so you should come and say hi to me.
It's I guess it's good. It's not as heavy top end type of night for you guys. That you don't have to do that much cornering. It would be nice to actually sit back and watch. The last fight.
I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. we get like that Kieran collab again? Seems like he's been over
we
in
actually
Thailand.
can't. We can't.
No?
I don't think. Oh no, maybe we can. No, we can't because he's whatever the fuck he is. That's a really good way to put it. Like for the WBC in Australia, so he's like, I don't know how it works, but he's got to put a polo shirt on and sit by the ring when the title fights are on, basically.
Alright. Sorry, don't worry, I'm here.
Yeah, that's the best way I could describe it.
Fair enough.
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see. Also trying to see if we can maybe get Peaky on next week because he's in town. But we'll see how it goes. Like, depends, like, if we have time to actually do it as well. So we'll see. We'll talk. All right. But other than that, guys, thanks for listening in again. I know it's been a while, and hopefully we can get a few going again. But we'll see.
Yeah.
The fights next week. So, like I said,
Lock on.
Yeah. All right. But remember, always like, subscribe, and share the podcast. Follow us on Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube, and also rate us on Spotify. And other than that, catch you next time.
Take care.
Peace.